Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Classic Quest podcast. This is the show where we break down the classic hip-hop albums throughout the eras and talk about them song by song, giving our thoughts and opinions on each and every one, whatever strikes us. My name is Holden Stephan Roy.
I am your lady friend, Bonnie.
And today we will be talking about a little Jay-Z album. It's called In My Lifetime, Volume 1. And just to let you know, we're going to do the intro bit. You can totally skip that shit by checking the description of the video to see when we start talking about whatever. But we wanted to let you know at the beginning, we're not experts. And we know Jay-Z is a special one. So we're going to be a little delicate today.
Yeah.
And we hope that y'all come into the comment section with your educations and your stories, and you teach us a little something about whatever we fuck up or the things that we don't fully understand, or help enrich our understanding, because we're just going to be open about ignorance off the jump. We have been reviewing albums for a while, but to understand,
we're still learning. We're always just learning.
But like to understand the nuances of the hip hop game in the late '90s in New York.
It's also understanding everybody's life, and everybody's life is different, and like what they went through is different. So it's just kind of like trying to like put all the pieces together.
It's also very different from our reality growing up in like the 2000s in Montreal, which is...
I grew up out in like the country, frolicking in like the fields and stuff.
So just all these different things. We do our best, is what we're trying to say, but we take it seriously because we understand how important the culture really is. And part of that culture, I think, is this beautiful art of putting albums together, which I think a lot of people really used to focus on, creating these dope projects full of songs you'd want to go back to and listen again. And I see a resurgence in that art coming back again, and I think singles are lovely, but let's talk about albums over here. And I don't know, we do care a lot about your comments, so if you do make that effort, just to show you like that if you comment, you might end up being our favorite comment from last week's video, where we talked about Idea and Ability's Firstborn album. And
we also talked about Shades Lawrence, Second Life.
We did, but that was the Headspace. That's the new albums. That's not the same thing as the classic of the eras.
But I just didn't want to forget.
No, you're fair. It's fair. But on that video we did, the Idea and Abilities one, we got a comment from Detriment Hip Hop. And I like this comment because he's almost like responding directly to some shit we said tucked into the middle of the review.
Yeah.
For me, those are cool comments because it really shows that like you were watched and it engaged you enough. And this was in regards to a lyric about how weed leads to cocaine, where I was like, I don't know about that shit. I know booze leads to cocaine, but I don't know that many people that went from weed to cocaine.
Right.
But then I started thinking about it even further outside of this comment. What about those people who smoked the marijuana blunts that were laced with cocaine that could, and that was a whole other thing.
Right. Don't even think
that
about
definitely didn't really happen in my lifetime around me, but does happen. Either way, he goes, I don't believe he's implying weed directly leads into cocaine. But I know for fact drug users can definitely progress into harder shit if social circumstances are there at the very least.
Right.
Especially during teenagers, when it's less about wanting to do bong hits for any benefits and more about getting into drug culture to rebel. And that's a very fair point, because I mean the difference between me as a 31-year-old thinking about this and Idea as I believe a 19-20-year-old is that he was like young and teenage life was still like relevant. So seeing a bunch of dumb kids doing dumb shit for the sake of it is different than being in their 30s and maybe doing some shit because it has certain properties that make you feel like less of an asshole in your daily life. I like how you shaked your head there. Anyway, so I really appreciated that comment because it helped expand my mind a little bit. And if you're not willing to change your mind, that's a weird approach to life in my opinion. Still, I don't have a lot more to say here. Why don't we just jump into special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black, Hurricane, Linda Williams. Talk a bit about that at the end, but wanted to shout them out at the beginning while y'all are still here with us. Anyway, Bonnie, why don't you reintroduce the album that we will be talking about?
Well, folks, this week again, we are doing Jay-Z's In My Lifetime, Volume 1, which came out November 4th, 1997.
Which is cool. I was a fresh young lad. I had just turned 10 years old the day before, and that was a good time of life. I didn't know what a Jay-Z was yet at that point in my life.
Yeah.
So just to give you some context. But this is the part of the show where we like to talk about how connected we are to the artist and our relationship with them, because if you copped this when it was new and you were like all over Reasonable Doubt and whatnot, you're gonna feel a very different way than say if you have just started reviewing Jay-Z albums and really didn't know what the fuck you were talking about when you embarrassed yourself on 444's review. Like that's another approach that could happen in your life if you weren't exposed to it and you talked a bunch of shit. You should check it out though. Feel free to give it a dislike. I know I talked some shit on that review. I would definitely feel differently now. We'll probably review 444 just because, I haven't gone through all his albums in the future. We're talking down the line.
Okay.
I could see how it would be like cool to get to that point, because Jay-Z, let's give him his credit. He got the billionaire marker. He did it.
Yep.
He pulled that shit off.
He's a rich bitch.
So like, all things considered, if you look at his life and his legacy and how he gives back to the communities, how he helped all these people with their legal issues and everything about him, you're just like, you know what? Say what you will about Jay-Z, about whatever. The man today and now is worthy of looking at his music. And I think it's a shame we haven't done more of them by now. Sorry, we'll do more Jigga. Anyway, so as far as I guess how it goes, why don't you tell us your connection to Jay-Z and how you feel about his music going into this review?
I don't know. I don't know where he kind of like came into like my life. I feel like it must have had been something to do with Beyonce, but like, Crazy in Love, like when he's like in like the video with her, or I think like, and then what, like Rihanna and Umbrella, that came later, I think. So I mean, like, he was like on my like radar, like, but I just didn't really know. I didn't know him for his rap stuff necessarily. I knew him for his like features on girl songs.
Fair enough.
So like, I mean, I'm sure I had heard it, like if it played on like, like the general pop station that girls listen to, or white girls listen to, in their teens, then yes, I would have heard it, but otherwise not so much. I mean, I know like some songs, but that's it. Nothing significant.
So there's definitely a whole bunch of Jay-Z's hits I am aware of that I've heard over the years. I remember the very first one of them that enthralled me was a little something called Big Pimpin'. And then there was the H to the Izzo, V to the Izzy, Push Easy Neezy, whatever that one is. I really liked that track a lot. I was like in high school and a lot of people were bumping some shit. And I can say I listened to Volume 3 at one point, because as I brought up a few times, my dad had this random ass stash of rap music that was just sitting there in CDs maybe I wasn't supposed to know about, and I remember listening to it.
Secretly your dad's like a thug.
I don't know. I think he was trying to impress this guy, so he like listened to a bunch of rap and whatever. But like, I didn't get the Jay-Z album like at that point, because I was a 12-year-old white kid who had no idea about anything, and so I moved on to more fun albums like DMX, because that was the one that really got me when I was young.
More straightforward.
It was a little easier.
X is going to give it to you, and he did.
No, earlier than that. It was, and then there was X. I remember, like, anyway, that's maybe next week. Just a little foreshadowing. Either way, I never really listened to Jay-Z's albums. I just knew his hits. And then, like, when I say, like, then you get his later end of his career, it's like, Forever Young, I wanna be, and you're like, this is the guy everybody saying is the greatest of all time? Him doing this shit now? And like, City of New York. And you're like,
that one. I mean, and I also, what was the other one that I knew, everybody knew, was like the Hard Knock Life one, because of like Little Orphan Annie or whatever. And
again, and I've heard that, and I've heard a whole bunch of them, or like, Can I Get It was always fun. Can I get it in the morning without giving you half of my dough and evil? That was a good one. I really enjoyed it. But like, end of the day, I didn't really know Jay-Z's story. And I feel like if you don't understand his story, his music's like real like hard. So even when we did Reasonable Doubt, it was kind of like a top level understanding of Jay-Z, and we did review Reasonable Doubt. So this is like collectively our second, and I did do the 444 when it dropped woefully unprepared for why that album was cool. Now, actually, even just having really listened to 2 of his albums and like looking into it more, I understand why 444 was a very significant and interesting album. Down to like cool shit, like apparently the way the beats are constructed, there's no 4 bars that repeat throughout the whole album. It just keeps evolving every 4 bars, and that's just crazy shit. But so then we get to this point where we did the Reasonable Doubt a while ago, probably didn't really understand why he was so good, and still, but getting it a little bit more, I feel like now when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, like I had a real moment of understanding of Jay-Z's talent on this project as we went through it. I just felt like I would say something like, I respect he's good, because I said all that other shit, and there might be somebody going, this motherfucker best not be disrespecting Jay-Z. No. I used to disrespect Jay-Z because I don't really understand him. But no, when I listen to this shit, I had some fucking epiphanies and stuff along the way that we'll get into. But we can talk about In My Lifetime Volume 1, the title. I think it's an interesting title.
Yeah.
Because you know that this is going to be about him and his world and his story. And I think in a world where you're supposed to keep shit real, it's a cool way to like put it. Like, what you're getting on this is the facts of my life.
Plus also things that have happened in his lifetime. He's kind of saying like he's lived through some times that are maybe different from like today, so it's it's things that he's lived through, being of a certain age or whatever, that he can say like, I was there for this, like this happened, blah blah blah, it's things like that.
And if I'm not mistaken, I read somewhere that he was only going to make Reasonable Doubt, and it was going to be like a one-off art project, drop it, I'm done, I'm not going to keep rapping. But then when Biggie died, it changed.
Somebody had to keep rapping.
Had to like keep up the shit, And I think that's fascinating, honestly, that he originally wasn't going to keep doing it. It was just going to make his statement and bounce, but then he ended up turning into the character that we know today. Like, anyway, the cover is fine. It's white.
Yeah.
He's there in a black jacket and a white tee. You can see he's got a nice little watch there. Make sure you can see his watch. He's looking at you like, the fuck you want? Fuck you know about some shit. He's young.
Yep.
He doesn't look like he giggles yet, because we've all heard the Jay-Z giggle. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he did giggle back then. Either way.
No, I don't think so.
I don't have a lot to say about this cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's just him, basically.
It's fine. Anyway, it's a bold move? Starting your album off with a medley. So let's talk about intro / 1,000,001 questions / rhyme no more / no, that was it.
Williams harassing me. They get upset when I catch feelings. Can I get a minute to breathe? And in that minute you leave.
So this starts off with pain in the ass. And you might think I might be complaining, but no, as you definitely know, the guy who does the first part is literally pain in the ass.
Yep.
Which I thought was fun. And what he does this little intro bit that's really cool, because I really like Carlito's Way. And when it's like that little scene when he's in the hospital and it's like, somebody's pulling me closer to the ground, is how it starts off. And then the I ain't panicked, I've been here before. Those are 2 lines directly from the movie, as he describes his little thing as he's on the hospital, don't take me there, etc. And then simultaneously you have scenes like only yesterday when I got on the stage in front of the crowd and showed them who I was and what was what. Man, look at this sucker, I ain't no rapper, I'm a hustler. It just so happens I know how to rap. And that's an interesting premise, right? Because if you look at Jay-Z, like, in the first frame of light, like, he's a rapper, etc., that very much discredits all that he is. It's almost like Kanye says, people like to put people in boxes and shit, and you shouldn't necessarily do that. Jay-Z's a hustler, and one of the things he's hustling is going to be this rap music. I don't know, but before I go into that, why don't you describe how you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I was kind of thinking the same sort of thing. Basically, it starts off, and, he's like, I'm a hustler first, rapper second, and he's kind of willing to do whatever it is to make money, and he's willing to do the grind, to do whatever that is, whether it's selling drugs, whether it's rapping, whether it's, doing whatever else he's doing now, just like investing, like in real estate or whatever. And he's kind of saying that he was the top dog when he was selling drugs on the street. So, why would it kind of be any different now that he's rapping? He's going to be the best rapper, like whatever. He just kind of always makes it to the top, is what he's kind of saying. And he was saying that, he did his last album and then he went and did some like underground stuff. And now he's back making like real, hits that, real bangers. And like he's going to make this album for us. So it's good. It basically sets the tone as to like what he's about and what the album's going to, potentially be about. And now that he's making it kind of just reminds us of like his like come up of like this is where he came from and this is where he's at now. And it's good. I give it a 4.25.
So I want to just, something I was thinking about is there is going to be certain people who can say some shit like, I know what y'all asking yourself, is he ever going to fall off? No. And then when you look at that shit 20 years later, you're like, well, he was right. He never fell off. And Jay-Z, in light of everything, backed up all his claims. Historically, it's just that. I mean, he's a billionaire now. He's no longer an 8-figure guy. He's a 10-figure guy. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if when he spits that shit, he's going to be like 10, like if he like just wants you to really know it. But like, and I say that with like supreme respect, man. Like, you don't just make $1 billion. That's not just some shit you...
Yeah.
Like...
Especially, like, he was, like, selling crack before, and now he's a billionaire.
Like, so many people, like, even if you look at Dr. Dre's net worth, he's no longer quite where he was and stuff. Like, Jay-Z's not going to lose it. He's just going to end up, like, he's gunning. He might, if he has it his way, break into the top, like, 10 billionaires on Earth type shit. And when you look at billionaire charts, once you got 1 billion, there's really nothing to stop you from coming up with the next idea that makes you 100 billion. And that's the crazy part about billionaires. Either way. Yep. So I was thinking about that right away, and I'm like, like, and the fact that he just knew it back then, and he just had that plan mapped out. Now, there's a big thing that changed, I suppose, between when I last reviewed Jay-Z and now, and in general, the last couple of years of my life, is just understanding business and how to make money and the science and the art of money and the language of corporate executives and shit. And another epiphany I've had over the last couple of years is how similar the crack game and the rap game is to the software game, because I understand the software game pretty well. And the software game is really just the e-commerce game, and the music game is really just the e-commerce game.
Every industry is just...
And if you really think about the drug game and you think about Silk Road, it's really just an e-commerce enterprise as well at this point. I mean, granted, it's not the same shit that Jay-Z was fucking with, but if Jay-Z came up today, he would be the guy who was cryptocurrencying and all the success on Silk Road. He would, because he's that kind of smart motherfucker. Anyway, so seeing the parallels between the ruthlessness of business, regardless, to become a top executive requires a line of thinking. And once I understood that, like, Jay-Z's just one of those guys, like, I mean, I don't want to compare Benny the Butcher to Jay-Z and put them and say that they're in the same, like, league in terms of whatever, because I don't really know how people feel about that shit. But when I listened to Benny the Butcher earlier this weekend, I was like, that motherfucker knows some shit, and he's trying to like educate you in the proper ways of like doing things successfully.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I feel like Jay-Z does exactly the same thing with his music. And part of this album though is a little bit on the defensive. So like one of the books right there is winning off his politics and shit. So he takes the defensive. A lot of speculation on the monies I've made, honeys I've slayed, how is he for real? Is that really paid? And the way he delivers these lines is truly spectacular, because he just kind of like rambles in a way that I talk kind of really quick, but he manages to fit everything on beat to lay up the rhymes like exactly the way they're supposed to be. Like, he never misses the rhyme points, and everything just flows. Like, it could be this erratic line followed by this swag line. Like, Jay-Z doesn't have this like constant flow. It's almost a conversation that he's having with you, which I kind of really appreciate personally when I'm listening to it. Like, Jay-Z's just kind of talking to me, and he has a swag. Like, there's an absolute confidence. Like, hustlers have dealt with the direct. Is it true he stayed in beef and slept with a tech? What's the position you hold? Can you really match a triple platinum artist buck by buck, but only a single going gold? And that's like powerful shit right there. He's like, I got the numbers. What about you? Yep. Oh, you think you're gonna come at me? Huh, you got a gold record. okay. You know, like, and you see that, like, I've got enough legit money coming in now that I can
Yep.
just crush you like that shit, you know? And then just to kind of, like, you know, look at shit like for the millionth time asking me questions like Wendy Williams harassing me. Wendy Williams is surprisingly fun to watch. Like
She
you,
is. She's
you don't
addictive. She's
want,
like a little
you
gossipy
don't
queen.
want to watch it, but once you get into the cycle, you'll
She
spend like
loves
an
like
hour on that
stirring the
shit.
pot. I love
It's
it.
terrible shit, but like you'll spend an hour easy just sucked up in the Wendy Williams universe. You know, then get upset when I catch feelings. Can I get a minute to breathe? And in that minute you leave while you're looking at my rollie spinning on my sleeve. And it's just kind of like you can feel the sense that everyone's mad at Jay-Z for being the guy to do what he said he was going to do.
Yep.
So instead of accepting it, because like Reasonable Doubt is pretty fucking stellar. So instead of accepting that, you know, this was all a legitimate documentation of a life, you know, where based on things like statutes of limitations and the fact that if you're convicted of shit, I mean, in theory, you serve your time, you get out of jail, whatever happens, you're allowed to do it. Like I was thinking, there's no statute of limitations in Canada. So Canadian people can never talk about their crimes, but American people can talk about their crimes. That's an
It
interesting
explains
difference.
a lot. It explains like how rappers are able to like talk about certain things that they've done.
I think in a lot of places it's like 7 years. So in theory, if you did some shit when you were 15 and you're now like 28, you can just talk about all the shit you did as a teenager in your early 20s, you know, without any consequence.
Yep.
Unless murder or a couple of exceptions to the statute of limitation. I don't know, it changes state by state. That's not really the issue. Either way, I like how it's flowing in. And so he has like an answer to all your questions. And he wants to ask you one first. How badly you want to know? Oh, you do? Pop. And then you like ends it like that. The Aaliyah little sample comes back in and it flows into a more flossier flow. Like motherfuckers can't rhyme no more about crime no more till I'm no more because I'm so raw. Right off the jump, kind of putting it out like, how are you supposed to come up here and rap about that shit knowing that Jay-Z is like one of the greatest at it? And while there probably are others that have come in and done some shit proper, like he is one of the more successful versions of it, you know? So it's like hard to criticize that. But I feel like it's a flossy, strong point to come in. At this point, he's probably still very fresh in his mind, that past life. And, you know, you feel it. Like, you feel the fact that Jay-Z has nothing to hide in his music. Like, this is facts. He's just bringing up shit that actually happened and is real. So, I don't know. I feel like he is that raw, and I like it. You know, my flow exposed holes that define yours. Wasn't for me, still be dying for hoes. But I hate when I is back in my when yours. And I love the fact that he doesn't even cold cut it. He's like, yo, these are whores that they're dealing with. He's not even, like, sugarcoating it. Like, everyone tries to pretend like going to the strip club and spending $30,000 to have sex with a woman is different than sleeping with a prostitute. But I feel like Jay-Z's the kind of guy who's like, fuck it, that's the arrangement. I'm gonna just cut through the chase and spit it like I see it. Anyway, it just flows out real good. I fucking like it a lot. You know, started from the Kraken and then So Sweet, freaked it to the rap game, Jigga the OG on MTV, telling him how I sold D and used to bag work up out of apartment 4B. And you're just like, shit, eh? You know, he's kind of like, yo, I just made a lot of money going up on TV, doing some shit that you can fact check. It's legit. And I like that. And it just starts on. Then I went low key, and now I'm back. It's on, motherfuckers. And it just like kind of ends with his Jigga, yeah. And it's like, all right, that was a really strong start to this album. I'm going to say that lyrically, it's fresh. Like, I love listening to Jay-Z rap like this. Like, he's still hungry. He still hasn't achieved it all. Like,
He's made it, but he's definitely not like billionaire status.
Like, I'm not saying Jay-Z doesn't try hard in his most recent work, but I'm saying he's not hungry in the way that he is in this work. Still, I gave this track a 4.5 on 5. Like, I think it's ridiculously fucking good. But the beats are a little bit... They're hit or miss on my mood. They're extremely well produced, but it's so New York in an area where, like, I don't know if, like, this isn't what I would put on the vibe, but I would put it on because I respect how dope it is.
Yeah, yep. I agree with you.
Did you give your grade?
Yeah.
All right. So the city is mine.
Mine.
I did something I normally don't to when I do these reviews. So, as you all probably know, the beautiful Blackstreet thingy here is from a Glenn Frey song titled You Belong to the City, which is a song kind of about how you are in this big old city like New York, but you're lonely and blah, blah, blah. And I listened to all 5 minutes of that original song, and it's not really my cup of tea. It's very well made. It's probably from that like era where smooth jazz was number one and shit, and it's totally not my cup
So
of
what,
tea.
like the 1950s or something?
No, the 80s. The number one
right.
song in 87 is like fucking Kenny
Kenny
G,
G.
which is crazy shit.
It really is when you think about it. Like,
I am thinking about
Who the hell decided
Bunch
saxophone? That's the way to go.
So a bunch
That's
of,
where the money is.
I guarantee you a bunch of
Saxophone.
people had sex to Kenny G, and that's how that shit became number one. It became like a soundtrack to fuck to because, yeah, like it didn't become the cliche for like sex romance in a cheeky way because that had to be based on the fact that a bunch of honkies somewhere were like fucking banging to Kenny G like it was hot shit.
I think it was maybe like the 80s was like the era of like the synthesizer, and I think that might have been fun to like that noise of the saxophone might have been fun to synthesize with.
Kenny G was just playing that shit.
I know, like he's a great saxophonist.
And there's no like words or anything. It's just elevator music was the number one song. Anyway,
yep.
So I listened to that shit, and The City Is Yours or whatever has some songs. But what I thought was fascinating is because the Blackstreet chorus is basically the hook of that song, but way better, I'll be honest. Like, they sing it nicer. And I don't really know that outside of No Diggity I've heard anything from Blackstreet, so that was really cool. And they kind of take it, you belong to the city, you belong to the night, in the river of darkness, he's a man of the night. And that's kind of like a little twist. It's like, okay, so we're getting into the streets now a little bit, just to take like a twist on a song of social isolation and bad anxiety in the city and make it the Jay-Z song. And I like how they really kept the same bass line and the saxophoning. And I don't having heard it just back to back, the amount of the original song they managed to repurpose and I'm gonna say it, make it good, okay? From that crap that it was where you could hear there was some cool elements in it mixed with this awful whatever it was. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. But then have Jay-Z come in with that wicked flip up and shit, you know? What the deal, Playboy? Just rest your soul. And here we're talking a little bit about Notorious, which is sad. I be holding it down, yo, still love the dough. Got these ladies on the cock now, you know how we go. Got the whole world on lockdown, you know how we flow. Don't worry about Brooklyn, I continue to flame. Therefore, a world with amnesia won't forget your name. Arnie's right, he was prophetic there too. The whole world still loves, admires, and respects Biggie.
Well, he died, Biggie was, he died in March of 1997, and this came out November of 1997, so it makes sense. I mean, this is, fresh news, and this is probably it was right after he died that he was writing this and stuff, so it makes sense.
Yeah. And then it just kind of flows in, and I think what this song is doing is two things. One, it's rest in peace to Biggie, but second, I'm taking the torch that you had, and I'm gonna be because Biggie was the king of New York, so now he's gone. Who's the new king? And we know about I don't know about but Jay-Z and Nas went at it for a little while. I don't really know how this fits into the beef, but Diverse Mentality really just did a great breakdown of the whole Jay-Z Nas beef, so you can historically what happened.
Okay.
I'm not convinced I agree with his summations of the thing, but it's pretty cool to just look at the history of the different shots that came through and stuff that maybe you didn't know about that happened from that point of view. But yeah, he's taking his rap shit serious to his demise. Jay shit Cake Mix, Watch Me Rise. And I like how he can just kind of do that kind of silly shit where it's in the middle of everything else where it's he could be just talking about the hardest shit. He'll just also swap in some shit
some regular ass stuff
because what does cake do? It rises.
I made cake last night.
It didn't rise that much, but
it's not meant to.
Anyway. Basics in the basement, wasted, asking my dog for advice when he can't say shit. My hatred is fuel, just give me a sign and I'll let the world know that the city is mile wide. And then it kicks back in, so you can almost just picture him in a dark alleyway, just kind of walking through, being all pensive, thinking about Biggie. Comes across Excalibur in microphone form, sitting in a rock, and he goes, "Reasonable Doubt is not going to be my only project. I'm going to make $1 billion." Picks up the golden microphone out of the rock, helps Rihanna make a lot of money, becoming the best female singer of all time, money-wise.
Yeah, and great makeup line, and now she's got like lingerie and clothing, and
Jay-Z's a mogul motherfucker.
and he creates moguls. So I think that's
it. He's what Ty Lopez wants to be.
I mean, look at Beyonce. Like, she's like she's obviously a billionaire with him. She's, they're coexisting. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Anyway, and then the second verse is kind of like, y'all want to know how I flow, just seek it, you find. I'm like a brain in the voice box to speak my mind, about to redefine rap, mommy. Either I'm the illest doing it or these is losing it. I read an article that said I was ruining shit, but every time I look, I'm moving unison quick. And just the way he, again, maintains that, conversational flow in the way he keeps delivering the lines, but he's making points here, right? Like, it's not just rapping. Like, he's letting you know, I got a little bit of a mission here. I'm actually that fucking good. I don't really care what you have to say with this shit. I'm a real kind of boss dude. I'm not into the flossy shit, to the point where he's gonna buy the rollie and then ice it at the same time, because who the fuck has time to go back twice,
Yeah.
How real is that shit? I copped a car back in 89, whatever. It's my city. I've been doing it for real forever. Then in the third verse, it's like, I'll take your girl because, your arm ain't strong enough. Plus, y'all don't stay in the studio long enough. I'll make hits while y'all stay hating and take breaks. And even from there, there's a bit of a difference between people, right? And I think that's what makes Jay-Z brilliant, is because look, in this office politics books, it goes, when other people are winning, don't be salty. In fact, what you need to do is go into overdrive and try even harder and accomplish even more shit. And that is how you can kind of create accomplishments. And what is Jay-Z doing here? He's saying, y'all are being hater butts.
I think it's, people need to just be like, hey, good job. I bet you I can do better.
But even more to the point, all the time and energy spent complaining or going to the radio to talk shit, that's time you're not spent working on your craft to actually get better, to compete. Like, Jay-Z, since he's not complaining, it's like he's taking, like, if we were to correlate it to fighting, Jay-Z has more time to go to the gym to get stronger than if you're sitting there being a hating ass whining with your boys, and then you're not in the gym training because you're distracted, your mentality's not proper. And then he's just fly with the rest of the verse. And then I like the way he ends it with, I'm the focal point like Biggie in his prime, on the low. Shh, the city is mine. Where it's like, I think he's self-aware enough to know that it could be perceived a little bit as tacky to come in and claim the city so close after the death of Biggie. But fuck that, he's doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So it still shows that respect.
Any royal family or any king or any pope or anything, it's immediately after. What I think it was Jackie Kennedy still had the blood of JFK on her while a new president was being introduced. So this shit is takes over immediately. So it makes sense that he's kind of nope, I'm the king now.
But what's crazy is just when he goes and says shit I ain't a player, get it right, I'm controlling the game. Now if you hear that on a first hand, it feels flossy. On a second hand, it's the way you should be thinking if you want to achieve success. And that's what I like about a Jay-Z type character, where he gives you really good business advice and he's willing to honestly take the time to share how he thinks. I'll bet if Jay-Z had typed this into a 280-page book backed with historical examples, it would be a #1 bestseller for how to become a business tycoon. And that's what I think is super cool, because the advice he slips in is pretty fresh if you're willing to listen for it.
Yep.
I thought this song was absolutely brilliant to listen to. I thought the hook was great. Just the balance of the two subject matters being how incredible is it to be equally a rest in peace track while also equally being fuck y'all, I'm here. That's a delicate balance to pull off, where most people would probably fuck it up. It's a 5 on 5 to me.
Wow. I feel when I had listened to it a couple of times without like sitting down and like going through the lyrics, and as soon as I heard it while looking at the lyrics, I was like, oh, of course it is. Like it's Blackstreet. Like, and like they were like super popular. I mean, they only had one hit as far as I am aware of, but like that one hit was super popular. And so like it made sense that like that was kind of like featured, because I was like, well, who is this like boy band or like, you know, R&B style that's like on here mixed in, but like now that I see like who's featured, it all kind of makes sense, especially like at the time. So it was an interesting mix of like styles and sounds, like kind of like, you know, the R&B with a little bit more like a harder like rap. So it was kind of cool to have that mixed together, which is something that I feel like he really took on in a few songs on this album. Like he definitely liked that kind of sound, like the R&B mixed with like the rap. So I think that's kind of cool, like that kind of fusion.
I do think that's label influence. I think that's people being like, make the shit so it sells, right? Because fundamentally, I think that's his goal, is to create a dope product.
Like he's making something that everybody's going to like, that he's just trying to get like his sound out there, I think.
Yeah.
And get exposure. And so he knows like the smartest way to do it is like bring in this like super popular R&B band.
Well, it's also like if you can't cross over out of the underground into a pop sphere and get radio play, you can't get the money. Like it's just probably not that possible in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, it definitely also like feels very like New York-esque, and just sort of like that kind of like raw, gritty, but like still like mixed in with like the, I don't know, there's something about it that makes it sound like New York City. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're doing over there, but it works. And I think that overall, like, I think, yes, there's, like, the whole thing about Biggie, but I think that he's also kind of, like, saying, like, no matter what, like, he's still from, like, the streets, and he's kind of, like, repping, like, where he's from, and sort of, like, the city is his kingdom, and he's going to, you know, because it's where he came from, he kind of grew up on the streets, and, you know, evolved on the streets, so he feels like the city is his, like he's got the power, he's got the control, and you know he can do whatever he wants, and he's kind of like feeling a little invincible, and at the same time it's sort of like a 1980s, like because of like the saxophone mixed in, it sounds sort of like a 1980s love ballad to the city, kind of like he's, you know, he loves the city, you know, for its good and its bad, and for like, you know, making him what he is and for giving him the success that he has. So I think it's cool. I think it's true to him. I give it a 4.4 on 5.
All right. Why don't we move on then, and we can talk about how he knows what the girls like.
Yeah.
I know what boys like. I know what they want.
I can just hear the B-boys breakdancing to this motherfucking beat, the way that it's kicking in. Can we just say that Diddy has awful ad-libs? Like, when you get to that third verse, you're like, the only reason Diddy probably really got laid was his money and connections to people. Because, like, he's just not cool. He's rich. He's powerful. I maybe shouldn't insult him, because maybe one day he could hire me at Revolt or something.
You know, I just want to speak for Diddy on Diddy's behalf.
He's even, like, kind of attractive. I'll give it to him.
No, but I just want to say something, because I was, you know, because I'm, you know, if you've been around here long enough, you know that I like Mary J. Blige. And so I was, like, watching her Lifetime Achievement acceptance award and her performance from last night at the BET Awards, and like she like personally thanked Diddy for being like such a great guy to her and being like such a great influence to her. Like she like, you know, pointed him out, and she like had like Lil Kim performing with her, so I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean it, so he obviously is a good guy. I'm not
saying that he's not a bad guy. I'm saying that his ad-lib game is corny.
But people like it. It's part of what he does. It's like listening to Eazy-E. Okay, maybe he's not the greatest rapper, but you want to listen to him.
Like it is a strong word. Often you'll like tolerate it because you need it. So it's like you got a lot of amazing shit, and it comes with Diddy's ad-libs. And so the 90% of it you love is good. but then Diddy's ad-libs are still there, and you're like, okay, I guess it comes with the package. Like, I'm not, like, if you like Diddy's ad-libs, maybe you do, and I'm not trying to insult your opinion or anything.
It's just what he does.
I've never heard it on a song where it enhanced the song. Anyway, so it's comedy gold. That's what I wrote down. But I wanted to give a lot of credit to Jay-Z and just his ability to make shit rhyme. And I think that's what makes him incredible, is that conversational tone and his ability to flow things in a way where they just rhyme perfectly. Like when he goes, vacate a way, and he just says it in such a way where, like, because it would be a way, but no, he doesn't say that. Vacate a way, and he just rhymes.
But he also has like that Brooklyn accent a little bit. Like, I mean, obviously not quite like that. Like, that's like full blown Italian, what I just kind of did, or not full blown, but like he has like a little bit of an accent.
But if you really listen for it all over this album, you'll find, and I know I wrote down another one to exemplify the point again, but all over the album, he'll just make things work in a way that is the kind of shit people praise Eminem for doing. Yeah. And I think that's really cool of him. Lyrically, this is one of the better songs on the album about intercoursing with the ladies that we're going to get, because it really is paying homage to a song called I Know What Boys Like by the Waitresses. So I spent another 4 minutes of my life listening to that motherfucker.
I know what that song is. I didn't have to look it up. I knew what it was.
I know what boys like. So when you hear the chorus, what you don't maybe realize at first is that's actually paying homage to what the actual 80s song sounded like. That's what the original sounds like.
Yep.
And then the girls in the whole song a bit of a tease, to the point where she has a whole part where she's like, I'll let you touch me. I'll let you do whatever you want for a while. And you can just feel like everyone's getting excited, like after this whole song of her not letting you doing it. And she just goes, sucker, I know what boys like. And I'm like, that's a cold ass woman. I don't like her. And then either way, so this song is kind of the Jay-Z take on that song, which I'm like, wow, that's creative.
Yeah.
And I
like,
think,
again, like an 80s hit. Like, he's definitely going for like an 80s vibe with this album.
well, it's clearly like his influences, what he grew up with. But I saw one definition for creative recently that I really liked, that all genuine creativity is the ability to take things that already exist and rearrange them in a new way.
Yep.
So the fact that Jay-Z is able to get a source like the Waitresses song and turn it into this is really remarkable. I don't like the hook when Lil' Kim does it, and I don't really like the hook when the Waitresses does it either, but it serves its purpose as being the obnoxious, whiny girl role it's supposed to be, you know?
It's like everything that's on this earth is already on this earth, you know? It's already like the products are already there. Everything's just created again.
And then Jay-Z lets you know how he gets girls. So peep the script, scope honey from the whip. Jumped out like, yo, who the fuck you with? Flash the jewels, cause that's the rule. Damn, I like a girl spend a little cash for her shoes. So he can identify ladies who put that effort into, you know, having the nice things, and simultaneously he'll make sure you know he's got the money to accommodate. Face natural, can I get at you? Or natural, can I get at you? Is, you know, the way he can flow it, he's just really nice. Saw a spot on the body, looked nice with a tattoo with my name, but didn't want to jump the gun. Proper wisdom. When you're feeling those impulsive, grandiose things you want to say on that first date when you meet boo, you don't want to say them right away because you might scare the girl away. Or, and he goes in a different direction, you don't know how many people she's humping right now. You know, you don't know. She's very gorgeous.
Yep.
And he's been around some cute ladies who he calls whores that either him or his boys have been up in that before. And so he's hoping you're different. We're going to be a little patient so he can give you a baby and all that if it's right. And ride it till the night. And I'm like, well, that's an interesting set of priorities. Give her the life and whatnot and encourage her to ride that dick until the morning, which is smart. Typically, if you want the best level fellatio, you should go to town first. And then the fellatio you receive after is that gratitude fellatio, which is significantly better than the not gratitude-driven fellatio. because there's levels to this shit once you all up in that. There's levels to it. Anyway, I really like it and how he kind of wants to feel her out, but you know, he wants to make sure that people, like, if you're the right girl, he'll deck you out so proper that you won't even, I mean, look at Beyonce. They got a serious situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they can go to the Louvre and just make a music video. That's some rich people shit. And then Lil'
Good
Kim,
for them.
while I love the way she rhymes like pow and mile and Tidal and all that, like I thought it sounded real good. There's almost nothing in her verse where I thought it was like real interesting. Whatever. I mean, there's some empowerment, so you can call me a slut, who gives a fuck, that's fine. Shit, I'm good with mine. I can tell by your shoes, you know what I want. Fuck a prenup, give me half up front. My sex be the best, so we split the cost. You can stop saying mine, start saying ours. So like, it's actually again well crafted in the regard of, she's an independent woman. Let's do this as a team. Let's cut the possessive crap. I'm equal value to you and whatnot. But the whole first half of the verse doesn't do that much for me. Except, I guess she's trying to establish she's not like those random ass girls that are just gonna fuck you for your money. She's an established lady capable of making her money. So I take it back. It's pretty like solid, all things considered. And then Jay-Z flosses again in the third verse, and it's fine. There's not a whole bunch. I mean, it all rhymes really well. You know, invite your friends over. Let their way through the Benzes and Rovers before they reach the door. Like, make sure you see the wealth that you're encountering. Understand what you're getting up in here, ladies. Try extra hard. All I gotta say, you know. Anyway, it's a fine song for what it is. I think, honestly, Jay-Z can spit the player shit in a way that you can tell that he doesn't necessarily do this on his looks. So I'm giving him a 4.25 on 5.
Okay. So yeah, clearly this was the days before Beyonce. So he talks about that he likes, you know, pretty girls and stylish girls. And he kind of wants them to like fall like head over heels basically with him and like get like their name tattooed on them, which is pretty damn like vain on like his half, but like also kind of dumb like for like the girl to do that kind of thing. But I mean, hey, girls do it, and you know, it happens. And then this is like, you know, he clearly likes sex, and like, that's what this is about basically. And the girl has to have like great sex and like perform well.
But it's more like you have to be the right kind of, like, I know what you like. You want all these things, like these jewels and shit.
No, he understands that. Like, he's basically, he's saying, like, he likes all of, like, the bad girls, all of, like, the wrong type of girls. And he's for it. Like, he's for, like, everything that they want. Like, he's, you know, he's going out with these gold diggers, and he's well aware of what they are. And he's just, you know, he's going to make them work for it. Basically is kind of what it is. Like, you know, he's like, if you want all these things, that's cool, but you need to like ride my dick like no other. And I think that's basically what it is. And then we have like little Kim, and she's basically like, you know, do whatever you gotta do to get rich, guys, and you know, like whatever, and like have the confidence and have like some like wild sex, and like in order to get what you want and get what you need from like these guys, like, you know, like you need to like stand out and be like extraordinary, you know, and like get them to like really spoil you. And then, you know, he's also saying, like, he likes girls in lingerie. Like, he's laying it all out. He's, like, you know, basically saying, like, here's the checklist of all the things I like, ladies. So go buy yourself some lingerie, and then you can come see me. And, you know, if a girl is like this, then, like, the guy will dish out on expensive things, you know, if she does all these things. And so it's sort of like an unspoken exchange of power. From like the girl and the guy, and like they're both getting what they want. They're both getting laid, they're having, you know, a partner, they're having some fun, and like, you know, maybe it'll turn into something. And then, yeah, like you said, then there's Diddy that's there. He's just kind of whispering things in the background and just being Diddy, you know, what he does and the ad libs and whatever. So I mean, I also gave it a 4.25. It's good, but there's really like, he's not really saying much, but he's also being a little bit raunchy, and like he's clearly young, and like
I think he's
living
almost
it up.
like putting it out there to the ladies. if you're willing
Like
to
he's
do,
willing to indulge if you're willing to indulge.
if you'll put it up, I'm the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a relevant point because in the next track we're gonna talk about the imaginary player.
The street, I don't see none of that. Damn, Playboy, what the fuck is the hum ass?
Did you happen to catch the little music video to this?
I stumbled upon it. Yes.
It was pretty funny. Not often do we get a music video that truly exemplifies the point the song is trying to make so well as having Jay-Z show up at the club with his people, having a little Rockefeller corner. They're all looking flossy. And then throughout the video, there's the wonky guy and his people who show up trying to fit in, pretending like they're players. And you can see like the difference, Jay-Z and them simple colors.
Mm-hmm.
They're not trying to look exuberant, calm. These guys have all this flashy shit, like look at me, look at me.
Yep.
Shit like the waitress comes with the bottle and he's like, yo, how much is it? If you have to ask, you can't afford it, is basically what she says. And then a funny little clip is when he's like, yo, we can split a glass, guys. Like, you know, like, and you just start to like, the longer they hang out, the more you can see their ghetto tomfoolery taking place. And you just can't be an imaginary player next to the likes of Jay-Z. And so from like an album placement point of view, it's really well done because in the last song we get the sense of the type of player that Jay-Z is. And then other people might not be that kind of player, as you'll see. Like, you know, I was popping that Cristal when y'all people thought it was beer and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, wearing that platinum shit when y'all chicks thought it was silver and shit. And he's like probably got a point. Like the pre-internet, people would see and not maybe know, but he was already that wealthy that he knew. To quote the great Pusha T, if you know, you know.
Yep.
All right, Bonnie, how do you feel about this track?
I mean, I think it's pretty simple. He's OG. He's rolling in money now, and like he's going to forever. Like he's making smart and wise investments, and he's got the skills and he's got the know-how, and like he's not gonna let this go. He's like a sick rapper, and this is sort of like a braggy song a little bit, and says like you ain't got no shit, or like, you know, your fame is like temporary, like what you have isn't going to be like sustainable and isn't going to be long lasting. Like you may have like one song that people know, but what else? Like, you know, like he's like going to keep going. Like he's going to be long lasting, and they're all talk, and like he's had it, and like had to like sell it after, like, you know, like what he's talking about. I think he talks about like the guy's jewelry, like he doesn't have it after like a while, and so he's like, well, either like he had to sell it or it was stolen from him or whatever, like, you know, he just looks like a fool. But he's saying like that's not him, like he's living like this top life, and you know, he has lots of money and, you know, will continue to. That's basically what he says. And everybody else is kind of like below him or whatever. So it's a good braggy song. It's again very like New York sounding. I don't know how else to like describe it. I don't know what it is that makes it New York sounding. I think it's like you know, like LA sounds a little bit more
Like your car's gonna bounce.
yeah, like you're going outside, like it's sunny, whereas like in like LA it's a little bit dirtier, colder, like it's like that kind of like feeling. So I give it a 4.25.
So this is one of those times where we have to really think about how much the man behind the music really matters. And to me, it matters a whole bunch because that real shit, whatever. And it matters because, like, a guy who's living a life will be able to write about the life that he's living, whereas the people who aren't will be kind of spitting some fantasy shit, just saying anything. Like, I can't picture Jay-Z actually saying a lyric like cooking up dope with a Uzi, because it's kind of a preposterous notion. It is a flamboyant point of wealth, but like, I don't see how Jay-Z needs to
That would be a studio rapper.
But like, I don't see where like he needs to imagine a flamboyant way to spend his wealth. He just has done a lot of things that are pretty flamboyant, so it's more realistic.
But I think he also I think he also kind of says is that he's not necessarily flashy
Well, but
about
this was
his
just
money.
more of like in general, right? So when we're talking about flashy or whatever, when you're talking about Jay-Z,
Like he's
you
making like
know
lifelong investments.
that he's been wealthy since this point, and he never stopped being wealthy, and he really was living that life. You saw him at since I'm a kid, Jay-Z, rich people life, doing that shit. Met all the famous people, met Obamas, all of that shit. Like the kind of
Yep.
shit you don't just do if you're regular.
Well, I think also Beyonce. I think it was like when like the two of them really got together. I think it started like
That's when a lot of
blowing
other
up.
people started paying attention to him.
Girls.
No, I don't know. I mean, I imagine certain people were paying attention because his rap was still pretty tight, but I definitely think he got a different demographic of people into the pop sphere who liked Beyonce, crossover
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
But right off the jump, he's like, yo, I spit that other shit. That's a nice motherfucker shit. That Fed time followed me around. Deep cover shit. You beer money. I'm all year money. You know, it's just the kind of comparison where it's like, I'm not like y'all. Like, you know, I'm really not. Stop trying to, like, compare it. I am over there living this top, or you can compare it, but I'm over here doing the real shit.
Yeah.
I actually have lived these lives. You know, I've accomplished certain things. It's like when 50 Cent raps about getting shot. You're like,
That's fair.
he got shot. That's
Yeah.
a fair point. He did take he took 9 bullets, and he did in fact take it in stride. So when he wrote that line, the Great 50, you're like, okay, that makes sense. In the same way that when Jay-Z's like, you know, knocked up, fucked up in the game money, I got bail money, double XL money. You know, it's like I got everything. I'm protected. If shit goes bad, I got shit in place. I can get people out of jail. You got flash now, but time will reveal money. That's one of my favorites, man. I think there's nothing that I enjoy looking at more than seeing people flashing small wealth on Facebook. Like, I could probably get a fat stack of $20 Canadian bills, like a good stack, if I cashed out my whole paycheck on payday and asked for it in 20s. And then I could hold up the stack and I could take the picture, making racks, bruh. But that I don't have that money. The X amount that I pay for rent's gonna disappear. The food money's gonna disappear. The this money's, and then when I'm left over, it's gonna be like a couple of bills, because there's lots
Yep.
of other people that like to take my money from me in a corporate way, corporate thugging. That's how it works these days. And I don't know, I really like this song, man. It's just this flatterer back. Like, I got blood money, straight up thug money, that brown paper bag under your mattress, drug money, which is right after how he's also got like proper money. You know, it's like he's just, I understand this game. I am the real deal, you know? You crazy, you fugazi, I'm loco with the dope papo. And he's pointing out, you're just not real. You're a bunch of fake fuckers that talk a lot of shit.
Yep.
And when you look in the music industry today, and you look at the way the wealth is just like people renting cars for videos, people renting jewelries, I'm like, it's not even a secret anymore. It's not even an open secret anymore. It's just nobody cares because everybody just assumes you don't own your shit in these videos. I don't know how we got to that place.
But I mean, I think people care when, like, you know, for example, when Beyonce and Jay-Z like filmed in the Louvre, like everybody was talking about
But
that.
what
Like
I mean
that
is
was
more-
like pretty like. I mean,
Now-
that was legit. You
Whereas, let's say I showed up and I had a Lamborghini in a video.
know, yeah, people would probably think that that's not real.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think that it would stop anything. I think I'd still make money off of that move. I think, and if I had a few hot girls dancing around me in bikinis, shaking it, and I just sat there like, and the song was just.
If you act the part, yeah, I guess. I think that's what it is.
And but it would work.
Yeah.
Like, you watch the numbers come in. I know of somebody who is literally having a bunch of older people tell him how to make money with music. He's a young, attractive Latino male. And man, the music he's making is so vapid. But you know that a bunch of girls want to dance to it, so it's going to sell. And it just works. It's so trendy. Like, you know, in 5 years, nobody's going to play that song. But right now, that song's going to be like the hot shit. So anyway, I really like this, man. I like the way he says shit like original. The jig is the future, flow digital, still busting a gap when shit gets critical. And he like fucking fucks up the rhyme to make it all work. I think, I don't know, like, overall, it's pretty good. Is this the one where he's like, go on, cop my flow? Basically, you'll sell half because it's not as good. It might not be this song, but that's one of my favorite lines on like this album. Like, it's just this flossiness to how good he is. You know, And how the fact is that, like, oh, you're gonna keep complaining, so I'm gonna buy more diamonds so you can complain about more. I'm gonna just rock more Versace. Oh, you mad that I'm rich? Okay, bro, you ain't got nothing on it. I'm gonna bring it twice as hard. I'm gonna do some crazy shit. I'm inevitably make an album about buying art that you can't even heard of, which did happen.
Can't even heard of?
Yeah, it's
That's
kind
a terrible sentence.
I don't
first of
care,
all.
okay? There's ain't no manicurist on board, okay, Bonnie? Switch your plane. I don't know. I really liked it. And then I learned today the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6. And yes, I understand that like 30 to 40 grand cocksucker beat it is an acceptable answer to the question. But I also now know it's engine size in a Range Rover. And from what I saw, the 4.6 engine was actually a less stable option. So on the one hand, it was more expensive, etc. But due to excess repairs, you actually spent a lot more money. So 444 Jay-Z would advise you to get the 4.0 today, even if young Jay-Z would tell you to get the 4.6. And again,
You have to know where to spend your money.
like,
And like what to spend your money on. Like he obviously was at this point, as much as he's saying he wasn't trying to floss, he was a little bit flossy, but like now he's kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna spend my money more wisely and still make moves and be able to, like, you know, he's a billionaire, he wants to maintain being a billionaire.
well, I feel like it's more people questioning him and what he knows, and people in their ignorance approaching him. Like, he's not flossy, he'll wear the fancy shit. No, he's not flossy in the sense that he has to tell you about it, but you're the type of guy that'll like walk up and be like, yo, what's the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6? It's kind of pointing out that, like, yo, you're so fucking fake, you're trying to talk about some shit. So yeah, I know the difference because I have the kind of money to know what the difference is, and you don't know the difference because you're just posing. And keep in mind, the song is called Imaginary Player, so in this context, the floss back like that totally does make a lot of sense. I like this song. I thought it was super fun to listen to, and like I said, the fact that like the music video actually enhances the experience is such a rare thing in my opinion. So I give it a 4.5/5. It's fucking dope.
All right, well, the streets are watching.
Is watching.
That's 3 is the initial plan. And you boys are advertising.
Man, it's hard not to.
It's like, I don't know how many people are really like Jay-Z that really successfully migrated into corporate America and success as quickly and successfully as he did.
Okay.
Which kind of makes sense for when you hear shit like Streets is Watching and why like this song came out. And whereas a lot of like some of the stuff he's describing here, like you hear people talking about it all the time now, and it's super real now. But like, I don't know how many people were writing songs about this kind of shit back then, because I don't know how many people had to worry about that kind of shit back then. And this is just something I'm speculating. Like, I'm not saying it from a place where I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm saying, like, how many people really transition that fast as Jay-Z on their debut album from that former life? You know, and then you start seeing the death of somebody like Biggie coming in. What's your mind frame gonna be like, you know? And then I had to point out something. Because Ritz, he's a rapper people have heard of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of Ritz, but something about Ritz just bothers me. You could call me a hater for the amount of hating I've done on him, but I would say I'm being objective that he's a little bit hyped up. But he goes chicka chicka yeah a lot in his songs.
It's his thing.
But
It's
then
like
I
Diddy
heard,
and his ad-libs.
but then I heard Jay-Z do it here, and I'm like, no. Your whole thing you got from a Jay-Z song? And I'm like, that's not that cool. I mean, it's cool that Jay-Z did it, but like, just the way that Ritz did this, because the jigga jigga yeah thing that Jay-Z does here, I swear it's the same thing that Ritz does now. And I'm like, no fucking way. Anyway, that's fine. That's not really the point of this song. How do you feel about this song?
Well, I'll just talk about like some of the key points. He's kind of talking about like how like people are watching him on the streets, and like he mentions like if you like you'll be famous if you kill him because he's so famous, or like a legend or whatever. It's like the same way like everybody knows like John like Lennon's killer and things like that. Like if you're just like that famous for killing like a legend, unfortunately. But he also has like a big ego. Like he's definitely saying like I'm somebody to be like fucked with, basically. And like he's always going to like have like the connection to the streets, and because of that, you know, he's kind of like fearing that there's always going to be somebody waiting for him in like the shadows, and like waiting for him to like mess up or like come to the wrong area, like, you know, or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, or, you know, expose someone because, you know, they were there when something happened, you know, like, you know, obviously he was involved in some criminal activity. And like all of these people are basically like waiting to take him out and kind of like take him down because, you know, he's like, oh, I'm so successful, blah, 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 blah. And people are like, you know, it's enough of this. And, you know, if somebody was maybe like his enemy, like back in the day, like on the streets, like, you know, they're maybe still waiting for him or whatever. So it's like that sort of like reality for him. But he has to keep living, even though he did some bad things and knew some dangerous people, and, you know, like the fact that his criminal life is part of him, it's part of his life, and like the streets and like the, you know, like the gang wars or whatever, like things maybe he was involved with, like people never forget like the things that he did, and for, you know, like he talks a lot about it, and, you know, in later songs, the things that he kind of got up to, and for some of like the, you know, who he sold crack to and how he sold it and things like that. Like it was, I think it's basically just like the realities of, you know, like his past behavior affecting his current life today, and like what and how it's going to continue and always will continue to affect his life, rich or poor. And I think that that's kind of interesting. So it's good. I think the beat was good on this one. I give it a 4.25 on 5.
Yeah, I really like this song. So from like the point of view, it really is like him coping with the fact that on the one hand, he is still a streets guy, and the streets is watching him now,
Yep.
especially with his wealth. On the other hand, he's a famous motherfucker, and so like, and he really exemplifies, look, if I shoot you, I'm brainless, but if you shoot me, then you're famous. What's to do? And that's like a thing that I think a lot of celebrities, I mean, even down to quasi-famous YouTubers, describe as they have all these little cats. Like, you'll have like a channel like mine who has gained something but not really anything significant, who may go out there and start doing hit pieces on like bigger people to gain buzz or to whatever. If that person responds to me, even if they shoot me and try to destroy my career, I'll still gain, because they won't. And then if he shoots this guy in real life, he's over. His life ends. He has so much to lose. But if this other person clips him, he's boosted. He's now the guy who shot Jay-Z. So if I take out that person and I have a successful hit piece, then you're kind of like H3H3. And their whole ascent was really that they character assassinated a lot of people on fucking YouTube, and they got famous for it. And so you look at it, and it's kind of like you see this, like if you translate an actual life into your corporate identity or into anything else, this is a prevalent thing all over. You know, when the streets is watching, blocks keep clocking, waiting for you to break, make your first mistake, can't ignore it, that's the fastest way to get extorted. And then it's the realization that now you can't fuck up, you can't have a problem. When you're starting to play real games, you basically have to be perfect. You'll see a lot of petty people, when you have expectations for them, be like, what, you expect me to be perfect? I'm like, I expect you to not get caught. You know, that's kind of what it is. Like, you don't get caught. You don't have to be perfect. It's like if you're gonna cheat, you can do it in a way where you're stupid, or you can do it in a way where you don't get caught. I'm not trying to advocate it. I'm saying that there's a smart way to approach bad behavior if it's something you're going to engage in,
I guess.
and if you know people are going to be watching you. Like, for the rest of my life, I know that I'm on the internet now. I have to be aware of the fact that if I tweet some shit, it can get like connected back to me here. Because in a way the internet behaves now, where people like snipe you out and look for shit, is a really interesting thing. Because a lot of what he's describing in this song is what it feels like to be on the internet in 2019. And this kind of extends to civilians, to everybody. It's a weird thing. Like, people who, like, if they're, to a degree, if people want to call me an asshole online, fair game. I put opinions online. I didn't have to do that. But you, person watching this, could have made a comment on somebody's dog 8 years ago and just get clipped for nothing.
Yeah.
Look at this motherfucker. He said the dog was ugly. Fuck him. Get him fired from his job. And in a sense, it's not that different than, say, Jay-Z trying to have a successful rap career and jealous motherfuckers looking for opportunities to clip him and extort him for it. And it's just interesting, man. His time is money, and 25, he can't afford it. So every second of his life, his existence is precious, right? And if he does make the kind of mistake that can land you in jail for first-degree murders and whatnot, that's a lot of lost revenue, all things considered.
Yeah.
Anyway, he flows on through, and he just kind of like points out with this verse, it's like, these people are trying to hurt me and to stop me. And meanwhile, I'm going out there and being super successful, taking pictures of the ladies. I'm very public, and these people actually want to kill me. So I'm winning, but it's kind of weird. And then you get the chorus, when the streets is watching, blocks keep clocking, waiting for you to break, make your first mistake, can't ignore it. And that's just such a powerful sentiment that it's worth repeating and it's worth having as the hook, right? Like, the point is, you can't fuck up. And if you look at the people who hold on to power, not the people who gain power, but the people who can keep power, they can only keep power because they fucked up, or whenever they fucked up, they got the consequences, and since that point, they haven't fucked up since. And that's what you can do. You're allowed to fuck up for a little bit, but from that redemption point where you're supposed to be better, you're not allowed to ever fuck up again. And if you do, character assassination, it's over. We're way past the point where, womanizing alcoholics are allowed to be presidents and revered as great people. Go look into the personal lives of so many of your great heroes. Do you know JFK had a secret passageway for local women to come up into the back room and fuck them, in the middle of the day, and you just have booty calls all day.
That's interesting. We both talked about JFK today. I don't know how that came about.
You probably put it in my brain, but when you think about power and shit, just how it works, we were okay with JFK smashing woman after woman
Marilyn
and
Monroe.
being all sorts of disrespectful. But if somebody like Trump wanted to fuck some ladies outside of his wife, the whole world has a huge
that's
fucking
already
problem.
happened. It's he did that porn star.
But my point is, why is it okay for JFK to fuck anybody, and we're like, oh, that stud, he was just fucking all your grandma, she was in DC, may have fucked him in that period, okay? That's how serious it was. If she was there and he seduced, it was going down, okay? And
Well,
everyone
it's
was
the president. It's your duty.
so now why
your
is it
American
that
duty.
Donald Trump, another powerful type of person, oh, he's an asshole.
Ooh, he's gross.
I know, but that's how we feel, sure, but the behavior's not that different.
But it's different too. I think because, I'm not justifying it, but he had to pay her.
One was in the 60s, one was in the 2010s.
Yeah, but I think it was
that's what was different.
One was voluntary and one was not.
JFK didn't really get caught. He died first, I think, and we found out a lot of this after. I don't actually know. I wasn't alive back then. Maybe that's part of it.
I think they know you're not alive back in the 60s.
And then Trump got caught. That's what. Anyway, so you can't get caught because if you get caught, you get public cases and extortions and whatever. But then we get to that third verse. And that's when, a whole lot of shit. Did I skip the second verse? I might have just skipped it. The second verse is kind of people want to come at you and test you and make sure that you are what you say you are. It's the patience required to not retaliate he compares it to a full-time job. And, everybody, just because you're winning, just because you're doing well, it's they want to chip away at your wealth rather than figuring out a way to acquire their own wealth. Everybody wants a piece of your Skrilla, so you got to keep it realer. Kidnap, want to steal you. Broke, want no cash. They just want to kill you for the fame. They don't know the rules. Disrespecting, blame, and want to blow your cool. And you see that all over. For every legitimate software company, there's a bunch of bullshit software companies fucking up the game. For every good blog, there's 20 shitty blogs trying to fuck up the game. For every piece of success you have a bunch of copycat asshole jealous clones just trying to steal a little bit of whatever in the middle. There's so many parallels. It's fucking crazy. And then you get to that third verse where it's real shit. See, what I like to point out is that I think one of the differences that you as a person can use to spot the difference between the real reals and the fakety fakes is, do they lose? there's no such thing as a person who is on the real forever that won forever. You lose. You have moments. So when you hear a rapper who somehow sold drugs forever and never had a single downfall, he's just always the winner. Maybe some parts of that story are a little glorified. Not to say that there aren't people who didn't, like, there are different degrees of losing, but everybody has moments of failure, and every honest leader is open about the moments of failure, and that's what I like about this third verse, because he makes sure to put that shit into it, you know? So my street mentality, flip bricks forever. No, me and my money, we like aren't co-defendants. We stick together. Say shit, whatever for this cheddar. Run my game into the ground. Hustle harder till secret indictment time came around, you know? So like, shit, I grinded, and I was so committed to the money to the point where the government's coming after me and shit. So, oh fuck, I'm too hot. So now I network out and I get a whole bunch of other people to come into it. And then he kind of pulls them together. Let's play fair. I'm trying to take you young cats. I'm trying to make you into men. If you do what I gotta do. And it's literally like what you hear other people describing in other rap songs. Only Jay-Z's actually the guy who was the one paying these fucking kids to do what he's got to do. And then, you know, he kind of like set up the operation, and then the hard times fell upon us. Half of my staff had warrants, the other half in the casket lay dormant. I felt like life was cheating me. For the first time in my life, I was getting money, but it was like my conscience was eating me. And that's the type of shit that a real man will talk about. When I say a real man, I mean like a type of person who is talking from their experience and their soul. He's not just painting a picture like he's a glorified winner. He's like, I won, but this is the cost I had to pay. Like, the fact is, it's like I'm making all this money, but literally I've killed these kids. Like, literally these kids are in jail because of me, you know? And then, was this a lesson God teaching me? Was he saying that I was playing the game straight from hell from which few came back? Like bad coke, pimp or die? Was my mind frame bad? Was thinking simplified from turning cocaine crack? And, you know, how often do you really hear from the perspective of a drug dealer questioning the ethics of his drug dealing in that level of depth and honesty, like from a guy who clearly went through that transformation because he's now doing the music thing, looking back like, yo, this is what happened.
Well, I think Killer Mike did the same sort of thing. I think that, like,
he did do that.
You know, he talks about, like, you know, his regrets.
I knew you were going to bring up Killer Mike, because on
my favorite.
Run the Jewels, there is that one verse that Killer Mike really questions, like how he sold coke to this lady and whatever.
Yeah.
But on this case, it's more like Jay-Z's contemplating, like, these kids are dead because of me, you know? And then he finally flips it up, you know? Basically, we're going to sell for a whole bunch. And then, like, here's the plan for 3 straight weeks. Slaughtered the block, but you know the game is food. It fucked me and my dudes. One drought can wipe up faster than the cops, and this unstable way of living just has to stop. Half my got time, we done real things. By 94 became the subject of half y'all rhymes. So in a sense, with all of the crime mafioso shit that's being rapped about and the way the story is being painted, Jay-Z's establishing like, yo, this is actually shit that I did. And even though we all worked real hard and there was a lot of situations that made money, he then follows on to go, public apologies to the families and those caught up in my shit, but that's the life for us lost souls brought up in this shit. So how many kids grew up without a father because of Jay-Z, you know? How many people have crack mothers? How many people's families are just ruined because of his activities selling this shit? And that accountability and ownership is, it's like, you don't hear that very many places. Like, you don't hear it anywhere anymore. So to hear Jay-Z spitting that shit as an ex-drug dealer turn into a business tycoon, it really is a cool message that needs to be taught to people, that, like, A, you should feel sorry for the things you did wrong in your past, and you should use that as motivation to, like, flip shit, you know?
Yeah.
Shit, why risk myself? I just write it in rhymes and let you feel me, and if you don't like it, then fine. The mind state of a who boosted the crime rate so high in one city they sent national guards to get me. Shit, bitch, who's fucking with me? The streets. So to floss out at the end to say that you single-handedly had such an impact that they had to deal with you like that, but also to point out how in light of the life you're living on the streets, so this is a track for the streets, for these people to go, yo, I live this life, I feel you, you can feel me through this music, but maybe there's a different way. And that's what I learned, because, yo, these are some of the consequences to this life you may not think about once you pop it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just wasn't expecting that level of, like, anything. And I know maybe I should have been expecting it, but damn, Jay-Z, you got me in the feels on that one. You got me in the thinkings on that one. The way you delivered every line is fucking ridiculous on it. I don't know if I'm loving the beat 100%, but it grew on me the more I listened to it. So I'm landing this shit at a 4.5 on 5. This is like it's sometimes like the 90s beats are just, I don't know, man, it's so hit or miss. Like sometimes I love it and sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's a good beat that he rapped over, but I'm not loving it. Anyway, I kind of hope Jay-Z watches this video, and then I hope that he thinks we're a friend and not a foe.
Exactly.
98 edition.
Come around here no more. Time to pay now. You try to rise, I wave the gun. Lay down. This time.
On the last album, there's a song called Friend or Foe, where some boys come into his neighborhood and, you know, he's questioning are they friend or foe. They're foes, a little bit. And then he walks in, he kind of robs them, and he steals all their keys of cocaine. And he basically says, never, ever, 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 ever come around here no more, or there's going to be some problems. Well, guess what? Those guys didn't listen. They did not take him very serious.
Nope.
So, for Serial Bunny, can you proceed to tell us what this song is about?
So yeah, I mean that's basically what it is. It's like these guys disobeyed him, and you know, they showed up, and he's like, he's gonna be serious. He has to show them what he's gonna do, and he finds out that these guys were like hiding in a hotel or something, with some other guys and like a bunch of guns, and then Jay shows up and like he goes to like with one of them, or finds one of them. And then like punches the guy and then takes his car, and I guess that's it. Like I wasn't really sure what else like happened there. Yeah, that's it. I mean it's a 2-minute long song, so I don't know what else there is to take away from that. I give it a 3.5 on 5.
Well, I think something that's different here is that it's a little less stream of consciousness pensive. Well, it still is, because I feel like almost everything Jay-Z has written so far on this album,
It's like he's a man of his word or
which
something.
is cool,
but-
because I'm really into that stream of consciousness type of shit. But this is a lot more of the storytelling side of shit. Like, I'm done talking. Ran up in the spot, gun smoking, shot it in the air, one woke him. So like you're picturing him running in, pop, the guy wakes up like, what the fuck? You know, thinking to himself, what provoked this? Like, holy shit, I don't know what's going on. His thoughts is racing like a Vulcan, which is apparently both a motorcycle bike used for racing purposes, and Vulcans in Star Trek have crazy powerful fucking minds. That's
you
a
would know
double
that.
entendre, motherfuckers. I swear I saw a light bulb when he finally realized it was the culprit. And you can now you're honestly picturing this fictional person in your mind, and you see that moment where it clicks, and the way he's describing it play out. Remember me from Friend or Foe when I told you don't ever come here no more? Now he's letting you, the listener, know the context for the rest of the story. So I went back and listened to the other song to make sure I knew what the fuck happened. Now he's like, time to pay, and he's just kind of like considering, yo, we bought rims with all those coke we sold after your shit. It was whatever, but you promised, and it's really no fun that I find you in Motel 6 with all these guns. And you can almost picture him like the megalomaniacal villain, like, you promised, but you broke the rules, and now you will die. And that kind of like, you know, feel to it. And then he just kind of like has him looking around the room, scouring the situation, playing it out. He knows he's got guys everywhere. But what this guy didn't know is that he, in this 2-motel town, has plugs at these motels and already knew about the situation. So it's a fucking setup. And then the guy, when he wakes up, he goes, boy, you know who you done fucked with? And I love when he goes, a gun in your face, and that's all you can come up with. Because, like, that's how the movies and shit always show it. Like, you know who you done fucked with? Pop. Like,
Yeah.
let's be real. If a gun's in your face, maybe there should be a little more, like, don't kill me or something, you know? Then, oh, you fucked it. No, you're fucked at that point in the context of what he's described in this song. Anyway, big shout out to Big. He's Unbelievable, which is a good song. And so that was cool. And then it just kind of ends. And I thought this was clever, right? Because it's a fun, short, little storytelling jam where Jay-Z shows, again, his tactful business thinking. Like, the lesson you're supposed to take from this is you don't, because remember, in the last song, the streets is watching, right? So you can't fuck up, you can't make mistakes, etc. And it like ties into that. And then, and I feel like there's a flow for the album, because really good albums tend to have the flow. So you have the intro, like, am I legit? This city is mine. I'm here. I'm the king. I'm the cool guy. I know what the girls like. You know, flossing. Y'all are fake. Y'all don't know what it is. Y'all are jealous. Y'all are watching me. The struggles of being the kingpin. Allow me to show you how I stayed a kingpin in Friender 498, to give you a little tangible example of how to avoid getting caught with your pants down. And then he gives this little description of, you know, how some foes he made came back and he was 2 steps ahead of them because he's fucking intelligent and they're not, and then boom, he caps the motherfucker. So I give it a 4.25. I thought it was cool.
All right.
Well, I guess we can talk about how lucky me I get to be around Bonnie.
Chris don't pop, you have to kill a nigga and your wrist don't lock. I'm trapped, the whole world's against.
This is one of those songs where, like, the music gives you a peaceful, airy, nice feeling. You know, you're kind of vibing to it. Jay-Z's like, y'all don't even know every day I'm living with distress. Got up the streets, you think I caress. Can't even enjoy myself out at a party unless I'm on the dance floor, hot-ass vest. You think I'm freaking these chicks, right? I try not to brush against their chest. You get a lawsuit for shit like that. Harvey Weinstein should have listened to Jay-Z back in the day.
This is before the Me Too movement.
Well, I mean, the Tupac case had gone down, and there's probably been a couple others that were ever. So there is this now, like, oh shit, if I'm not careful with how I approach women, and if I get perceived as sexually harassing them in the club, it's bad. So I don't know that Jay-Z thought it was actually bad to brush up against a woman's chest.
Well, I think it's what it is more that he's well aware that he's a rich guy and people are trying to get money out of him any way that they can. So a lawsuit is a clear thing that a woman can be like, oh, he touched my breast, I'm going to get money out of this guy. But
it also, in a weird sense, is some foreshadowing shit that men for the next, like, 20 years should have listened to, because how many dudes are going to end up still getting clipped on this shit because, you know, some woman's going to come up and be like, he raped me, and I feel bold enough to talk about it. And I'm not trying to diminish these women or anything like that.
It's the people who say it and it didn't happen. Those are the fucking
But I'm
assholes.
saying that there's still a lot of people where it did happen, where the story hasn't come out yet, and the story will come out one day. And then I'm gonna think back to Jay-Z going, no, man, I don't want your boobies touching me. I don't want a fucking lawsuit or some shit.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, Jay-Z really was smart, man. Because how many people are literally going, oh, you see me out here with these fine-ass girls, but the truth of it is, it's not even fun because I can't touch them. And there's a music video here where you can imagine how Jay-Z wanted to maybe touch a little bit. We'll get to that. And I just love the fact that, again, it's some real shit. Like, it's some stuff that really happens. Like, Tech 9 had a situation where he almost got sued for, like, child porn or whatever because, like, a 17-year-old flashed her tits at a concert. And he got blamed for it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, man, the things people will try to do to make, especially in the States. You know what you can't do in Canada? You can't sue an individual. We don't have that lawsuit shit like y'all have up there. But that's for real, man. Anyway, it kind of flows out, like at the funeral party. There's a sense in this song also where he's going to die young. Give me any amount of time. Don't let Mrs. Carter grieve. At the funeral parlor, dripping tears on my sleeve. Told the judge didn't budge. It was him or me. And I ain't trying to be hard. I'm charged as guilty, but put my mercy on this court and my faith in God. I'm praying none of my nephews want to be stars. Lucky me. So it's like, wow, man. To the point where, and apparently both of his nephews are in fact currently trying to be stars as they write their raps and stuff. But like, just the fact where it's such a painful experience to have this music situation and all the stress where it's like it looks away, but he's like, yo, I don't even wish this on my next of kin and whatnot. And then he hates girls with ulterior motives because, you know, that's a bad thing.
He wants people to be open and honest with him.
And that's why he's 20 plus years, no sons or daughters. Hold up, Jigga. Weren't you talking about on other songs how you'd fuck anybody and you're okay with that shit? I digress.
Yep.
Maybe it's okay for you to be a gold digger if you're straight up about that shit and you're just being clear about what you want, and it's the people who pretend like there's something else he doesn't like. Fair enough. I take it back. Hate putting my life in the hands of fake promoters. Hear the hate in my voice, right? I hate that you noticed. And that got me thinking again about the Office Politics book, where you're supposed to be able to screen your emotions and not actually give off your weakness. So the fact that you can detect the hatred in his voice and how frustrated he feels and shit is in and of itself a sign of weakness. So he hates that you notice that shit, you know, because people will take advantage of it. And I was like, wow, man, this song has a lot of power where he takes the idea of lucky me, like I'm so fucking famous and shit, but yo, hate the price of fame because it costs too much. Can I live without y'all saying I floss too much? Hate the way you make this hate flow through all of us, steady looking for flaws through us, lucky me. And that's such an interesting point. Like, why do so many people hate people who achieve success when they don't?
Because they can't have it. They're jealous of them, and that's what it is. It's people are just envious and jealous and greedy.
But like Jay-Z and I am saying is that it's not conducive to accumulating more wealth for yourself to be a fucking dick
No, but
like
those
that.
people don't see that. That's why they just stay there.
I just wish more people would read some fucking books, man, because all this knowledge is out there and then everybody could grind and we could all live. Thing is, man, if we all grinded together instead of hating each other and being a little bit jealous and shit, we would all accomplish a lot. Like you could see how like the entirety of society could be organized into miniature cells of cooperatives that could like actually achieve critical mass on major issues. But instead, like, one dude gets too much power in politics, or this guy gets that chick pregnant, and oh shit, that chick's not his wife, and all this petty shit just comes out, and it's fucking dumb. I wish people could just focus on the real shits. I don't know, people see you pretending to be friendly, but I know any type of success breeds envy. I know in the back of your mind you're conjuring ways to hem me, leaving my friends in a circle, pouring out Henny, and you just get the sense of all of the stress of even the fact that you can't trust your friends. But he's not just saying, I can't trust my friends, I'm on my own. He's saying, yo, like, even the people being nice to me are fucking around and being a serious problem with it. I don't know, man. I really, really appreciated this track. I thought it was really cool to listen to, and how he like just wants these sincere and honest relationships in his life. But instead, because of the world that he's living in, people take some serious advantage of it. And this song is really powerful. And you know who else thought it was powerful? It was Mr. Lil Wayne.
Oh, yeah. I did read about that.
Lil Wayne tattooed Lucky Me on his neck and has a verse of this song tattooed on his leg. Fun anecdotes. I thought it was another strong, powerful song showcasing the depth and interesting mind of Jay-Z, and I gave it a 4.5 on 5.
Okay. I mean, I thought somebody else maybe had heard this song and was inspired by it as well. I'm going to say Britney Spears.
She's so lucky.
She's a star.
She
So,
cries.
I mean, like, that, her song Lucky, like, it's literally the same sort of, like, oh, poor me, I'm famous, song. Same sort of thing as this. You know, and, like, this is basically about him and, like, the spotlight and how he can't necessarily trust people, and people are always trying to get money out of him, and, he hopes like his nephews don't like, you know, end up being stars or don't want to end up being stars. And he talks about them a couple of times as well. And he's kind of saying like he has what he deserves. Like he worked hard to be where he's at. And he's like, you know what? I don't care what other people think. Like this is what I worked for. Like this isn't just like, it didn't just come to me, like it wasn't just handed to me, like this was hard work and effort, is what he's saying that he put in. And he's like, I deserve what I get, so you deserve what you get, you know, if you kind of like don't put in like the effort. And so like that's for me like what I get out of it. And people are gonna hate him for it, and you know he's but he's not gonna like go out without a fight, and he's going to like hang on, and he wants to like leave like a legacy. Like I think he also talks about like, you know, he wants to be able to like have a kid and like leave this for them, and like so he wants to have that legacy. And I think that's, you know, when he had you know, when, you know, him and Beyonce had like Blue Ivy or whatever, like I feel like at that point, like that was like their first kid together, and I think that it was like, like here's like, you know, the kid that's going to like carry their fortune and like their like legacy. And they've had three kids now together, but like I think that was like a huge thing, like when, you know, she was born, like she's like the royal reign or whatever, or the royal heir. And so anyways, but I think it's just sort of like the struggle that he has to live with, you know, because he's rich and famous, and it's sort of dealing with like his life, his past life, and like the struggles and like the things that he grew up with, and like the, you know, what he knows, and like kind of adjusting it to like the rich life, and he has to change like his mindset. And, you know, obviously he did. It's, you know, not about crack, it's about money, you know, rap now. And so it's a different game, and what he's doing is different, but it's the same sort of like, he has to be like cautious, and like, you know, every move counts. So I like the honesty. I gave it a 4.4 on 5.
All right. Well, Bonnie, will you always be my sunshine?
Maybe.
So we were going to go ahead and talk about that song. So you got that little setup, and then it cut to this, and we're not talking about that song because we're going to keep trying this part 1, part 2 thing. Like, we want to take more time with these albums, because I personally think the reviews the last few weeks with the more time on each song has been a better experience. The analytics say you're watching for longer, so maybe it is working like that. And just because I know y'all don't want to click on 3-hour videos, we're going to split it. And that's what's up. So we're going to do the rest of the album. We're going to record it immediately after this. So it'll just come out like the following day for y'all watching this. Anyway, care a lot about your comments. We thank you for being here with us. It really does mean the world. So special thanks to the patrons, Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, DJ Black Hurricane, Jonathan Barnes, and Linda Williams. They support what we do, helped us get a new camera. They get to tell us what albums they want to review. So DJ Black Hurricane's next up on the list. And yeah, so we'll definitely come back, and you'll see the next video for this remaining 7 songs tomorrow.
There you go. Bye, guys.